Hello, I'm Professor Kino, and welcome to my Office of Cinematic Antiquity. Today we'll be talking about... Hot off the tail of his 2019 box office juggernaut Aladdin, Guy Ritchie has finally decided to take a step back and revisit his roots, stylish crime dramas. Making his debut back in 1998 with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then following it up with 2000's Snatch, 2005's Revolver, and 2008's Rock'n'Rolla, Ritchie made a name for himself as a director who implemented sharp dialogue, stylish editing, and some unique storytelling that utilized relentless pacing and creativity. He is a prime example of being an auteur filmmaker. His stamp is always clear and unique to him. Starting in 2009, however, his career pivoted from being focused on these early smallish crime dramas to being bigger studio films, the first of these being 2009's Sherlock Holmes film. But even with this bigger budget and increased studio involvement, Ritchie's stamp was still clear. The sharp dialogue, the stylish and individualistic editing choices, the fun visual flair, it was all still there. It was a Ritchie film through and through. It was Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes film. And after this, Ritchie continued his streak of bigger films with the Sherlock Holmes sequel in 2011, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. in 2015, King Arthur the Legend of the Sword in 2017, and then with Aladdin last year. And they were all clear Ritchie films, with his influence and style felt all over them. So yeah, Ritchie has never sacrificed his voice, and I respect that a heck of a lot, and it helps that I really do enjoy what Ritchie brings to the table. But when I heard that he was taking a break from his big films to go back to his beginnings and make a new crime drama in the vein of Snatch, I was ready to see it immediately. To see Ritchie go back to his original calling after having honed his talents in the big leagues was exciting. Not to mention the cast for this film, entitled The Gentleman, was massive. Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Michelle Dockery, Jeremy Strong, Colin Farrell, Henry Golding, Hugh Grant, Eddie Marsan, Bugzy Malone, etc. It was a project to get excited about, so much so that it made its way onto my top 10 most anticipated films of 2020 list. So do I think The Gentleman lived up to its potential, and has Ritchie remained one of my favorite directors? Premise. When American expat/marijuana magnate Mickey Pearson decides that he wants to retire from his life of crime by selling off his London-based empire, every career criminal under the cloudy sky of the capital city begins to yearn for a piece of the power. This sparks off a series of blackmailing, plots, schemes, bribes, assassinations, and power plays that all make Mickey's desire to get out a lot more complicated. And it causes him to reevaluate the situation and his exit strategy because, as his wife tells him, when you smell smoke, that means there's a fire. This movie has no trouble kicking itself into gear right from the get-go. After one opening scene and a fancy 007-styled opening credit sequence, The Gentleman starts rolling at a fast pace. It throws you into the middle of its story and spends a lot of time catching you up, but this is actually handled in a fantastic way that does not feel clunky or forced. In fact, quite the contrary. The framing device that this film uses, which involves a private investigator with an unknown ulterior motive recounting his view of all that has happened to one of Mickey's associates, works wonderfully for the film's story in many ways, not least of which is the fact that it adds an element of uncertainty to all the events that play out on screen, because we as an audience have to try to decide what parts of the story are being embellished by the investigator, which makes the film highly rewatchable, and that it'll be fun to try and pick up on new hints and truths and lies with each viewing. And while it does take maybe the first 15 or 20 minutes to really get oriented, The Gentleman soon becomes very engaging, filling each and every scene with extremely smart dialogue, tons of surprises, top-notch and witty albeit offensive humor, and a plot that feels wholly unpredictable. I seriously could not guess what was going to happen next, but love seeing each and every new development play out. And combine all of this with some outstanding acting from everyone involved. Seriously, everyone kills it in their roles, especially Hugh Grant, Charlie Hunnam, Matthew McConaughey, and Colin Farrell. Some characteristically stylish and creative Guy Ritchie visual flourishes and editing choices, which include quick, well-paced cuts and scene transitions that add to the humor and suspense and style of the film, and plenty of intrigue and mystery that made seeing each new scene exciting and full of the unexpected and surprising. And the result is not only one of the best films I've seen so far this January, but also one of my favorite Guy Ritchie films of all time. And I love Guy Ritchie, so yeah, I think it's that good. The only issues that, if you could even call them that, the film has would be that, again, the first 20-ish minutes are a bit hectic and fast-paced, so it does take a little while to understand who all the pieces are and how they are all situated on the board, though I will say that the film does reward those patient and invested enough to see it through, and that the film has no qualms with being raunchy and crass. Seriously, it uses every swear word under the sun, and quite a handful of racial slurs multiple times, and without hesitation or pause. But whether or not you think it's too much comes down to personal preference. I, for instance, didn't mind it in the slightest. but I am aware that others might not take too kindly to this liberal use of said profanities. But neither of these quote-unquote issues take away from the fact that The Gentleman is a wildly unique film with a surprising and creative story, witty dialogue, fantastic acting, and a characteristic and always welcome Guy Ritchie flair, and that makes it a film not to be missed. Thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to add anything, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Until next time, I am Professor Kino, and I look forward to our future discussions.